Okay, meeting is being live streamed. Fabulous.
Okay, we are live.
Okay.
Speak for yourself. I don't feel like I'm alive.
The Walking Dead. I mean, I guess it's fine if I share my screen and you stay as host. Like, I guess I don't need to be co-host.
Okay, if it works.
Yeah, I will just share it right now. Okay. Right, so can you guys see that?
I can see it.
Yes, it can.
Fabulous. That's good. Yeah, so welcome to everyone who's already here. I won't start the presentation just yet because we'll give people time to get into the meeting who wants to get in.
Yeah, Linda
sure
wrote something in chat. She needs the passcode and IDE for this. Dawn, do you have it available or shall I have a look?
Why don't you look, because I'm dealing with the echo. I've got to turn off the volume on the YouTube chat.
Yeah. The ID and postcode should be in the link on Workplace and in the YouTube community tab. So welcome to everyone's here. We're just getting set up, so we'll start the presentation in a couple of minutes, just making sure that the people who want to be in the meeting can get into the meeting and that the people who are watching on YouTube can get into the YouTube chat and watch that. So thank you all for coming. It's nice to see you and welcome to our live stream. How are you getting on, Emery?
I cannot find the ID either because sometimes Don posts it, but this time it's somewhere hidden in the link, I think. So I look if I find the information somewhere in the Zoom meeting. Do you need a passcode to come in?
No.
What's copy streaming link?
You just have to click the link on YouTube.
Because Linda is already inside, but she wants to join with her phone, and obviously there it doesn't work.
I don't know. All right, you're just crying in my ear, little girl, and I can't do anything about it. Yeah, I can't turn off the sound on YouTube, and that's going to drive me insane. So stop.
Why can't you turn off the sound?
Because I'm turning off the sound. Turns off the sound on Zoom too.
Oh.
So what I've done now is I just turned off YouTube so I can answer your question here, but I have to go look at the channel and see.
I think now I might have found something.
So hi to
Ah,
everyone
here.
who's in.
I have a code found. It's a number, right?
Guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a number for the chat, but there's also phone numbers and that kind of thing that I don't see. I can't get to that on my phone either. It's just showing the link. It doesn't show all of the link and all the other information for some silly reason.
yeah.
Linda,
So-
I have
Can't
now
see it.
posted the meeting code. So with that, it should work.
Oh, I think I found it. Because if I just pressed on more and then meeting info and then it gives it. So you can maybe copy. Oh, it doesn't let me copy and paste. So the
The
passcode is,
meeting, yeah, please.
so the
on.
meeting ID is 643 684 0751. And the passcode is 464267.
Okay, then I got the right passcode.
Good. Fabulous.
Okay, I think she has the ID, and then she got in. Fine.
Good.
Okay.
Fabulous.
So
Okay.
that's awesome. So sorry guys who were alone in the chat. So I'm back.
Yep. So welcome to everyone who's here. I can't see the YouTube chat because I'm doing the presentation, but hello to all of you guys. So like I said already to those of you that were already here, so I've got a presentation to give, but it's not supposed to be the kind of thing where it's just me talking for an hour and you guys all sit in silence. It's very much, you're welcome to come in and contribute at any point. So if at any point I'm talking and you feel like you have something that you either want to comment on what I'm talking about, or you want to share a memory, or you just like the picture and think, oh, that's such a cute picture, like, you're welcome to jump in and say so at any time. We can chat and discuss however much we like. It's, it's open house for that. So please don't worry about interrupting me or, feel intimidated or anything. Like, this is for everyone to, talk and be friends. Because as Beaches would say, hello friends. So that's the plan for today. So if people are happy, shall I get started?
Yeah, I'm in the chat and we have already a lot of people here. So hello everyone. I hope I haven't missed one in chat. And good to see you all. And someone has a question. Oh, Warm Fuzzy says she got on the Zoom but had no audio. Do I need a meeting ID? Usually not, you just go on, but you also can be here in chat and just write everything you want to say in chat.
Yeah, Anne-Marie will read out the chat to me, if that's all right, Anne-Marie.
I'll do, no problem.
Sure, fabulous. So, shall I get started then? So welcome everybody. So this is our Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos Memorial live stream. So like I said, this is just for us to, give each other support and share our memories and talk about birds and just generally be present with one another. So thank you all for coming, and feel free to jump in and say whatever you want to say at any point. So I thought we can start off by setting our intentions for the meeting. So the intention is to provide comfort and support for one another because I'm sure all of us know the pain of having lost a bird. And, you know, we lost Peaches very recently, and I know other members of the flock have lost their birds as well. So that's something we can all share. And we want to remember our feathered friends that we've lost and give thanks for their lives. And that's very much something I'm hoping will come out of this. It's that we, even though we're grieving, we'll feel thankful for having known our feathered friends at all, and we'll come out with a sense of hope. We also want to spread awareness of parrots, their needs, and the needs of their caregivers. And we want to find the strength to come through the dark times and look to the future with hope. So knowing that even though things are tough right now, when we're all together and have our friendship, then we can get through together. So that's our intentions for the meeting. So I wanted to start by looking at loss and thinking of some ways to cope with loss, because obviously in this live stream, we're going to talk about our feathered friends that we lost, and that can bring up some painful feelings. So I wanted to start by saying birds are part of the family, and when they pass away, life can feel very empty. And sometimes people that don't have a bird or don't have a pet don't understand this. So I think it's good to be with people that understand what it's like, and I hope all of us can empathize with one another in this. And what I really want to say is that for people that are suffering from loss right now, it's normal to feel like this. You don't need to feel ashamed. So however you're feeling right now, that's fine. Your feelings are valid. And what you need to do is be patient with yourselves, because grieving takes time, and it's a process that you go through that can't be rushed. So what you want to avoid doing is you want to avoid kind of comparing yourself to other people or to some ideal of how you think you should feel, and then not measuring up, because it takes the time that it takes, and it's an individual process for everyone. So you want to be patient and just go through the steps. It's also okay to feel angry or to cry. And like I said, your feelings are valid. They come up, they're natural, and you've lost someone dear to you. So this is something that happens. And bottling things up can make things worse. So if you need to let it out, then that's good. If people feel emotional today in this session, then please know that we're all with you and we understand. And finally, another thing that's important is to realize that you have ups and downs. Certain days are going to be harder than others, and certain dates, like the anniversary of getting your pet, or going to a certain place, if there was a park that you liked to go together, seeing that place, or even certain celebrations, like if you have Christmas and you always put a party hat on your bed at Christmas, and then they died, and then you bring out the party hat, and then you're like, oh my God, she's not here anymore. Little things like that can trigger your grief, and that can be really painful, and it can hit you really hard. But what you want to be aware of is that these things happen, and that's okay. So you want to have empathy for yourself, and just remember that it's fine to feel bad, it's fine to be upset, but as long as you're working through it and feeling the pain and taking every day as it comes, you will be okay. So we can start with Chloe, and this is Chloe, and she's the sanctuary's founding cockatoo. So she's the one who started it all. So Don found her on Usenet one weekend. If anyone remembers Usenet, that was a thing back from way back when. So he found her on Usenet, and he drove up at the weekend and got her, and she rode home in the car on his shoulder. So that was before Don knew anything about, how to put birds safely in cages and things, but that's what they did. And Don, at first, he had no idea that parrots were so complex, but with Chloe's help, he soon learned. So Chloe, she's the one who started all of this. So a nice incident that Don talks of fondly to this day is when he took Chloe to a pet shop to buy her a new cage because she didn't like the cage that she had and she wanted to pick out a new one. So he took her around the shop and showed her all the different cages. And there was only one cage that Chloe wanted to go into, and it was a massive old California cage. And so Don bought it. And then when they got home and Don set it up, Chloe was running around in circles on the top, strutting and making sounds like tubular bells because she loved that cage so much. She adored it. It was her favorite cage and she was proud of it. So that was a beautiful memory of Chloe. And when Don got her, she was a plucker. But even though she plucked, she was still an excellent flyer. And for those of you that have seen some of the old Cockatoo episodes, there's some great clips of Chloe flapping around the room, wreaking havoc, showing off her flying skills, because she knew what to do. Boy, she was a good flyer. And thankfully, once she got started on the Haldol treatment, her feathers came in really nicely. So even though she could fly when you got her, she got back to looking pretty as well once she was on the Haldol. So that was fabulous. And another special memory that Don has of Chloe is them playing a game together. So Chloe invented a game for her and Don to play. And we don't know if Chloe thought the game had a name, but we just call it the Printador game. And basically the game was Don had to throw a ball and Chloe would be the goalkeeper. But the trick was that Chloe would open and close the printer door. So Don was only allowed to throw the ball while the door was open. So if he threw it while the door was closed, then it was a foul. So, it wasn't just that he had to throw the ball and catch it, but he had to throw it at the right time. And she would decide, when he was allowed to throw or not. So it's a very complicated kind of game. And Chloe made this up and Don, she taught it to Don. Like, he didn't train her. She was the one that figured it out and trained him. So I think that's pretty special. And Chloe and Snowball were a mated pair. So Chloe couldn't lay eggs because she had a salpingo hysterectomy, so she couldn't lay. But nevertheless, Chloe and Snowball nested together. And Don jokingly called Chloe a sports widow due to Snowball's obsession with Frisbee. But sadly, the two of them divorced because Snowball was having issues with mate aggression, which happens in captivity. So the two of them divorced. But even though they split up, they still seemed to care for each other. And honestly, I think Snowball still misses Chloe to this day, because sometimes Don says, he sees Snowball sitting in the aviary and looking wistfully out up into the sky as if he's missing somebody. And we think he's missing Chloe. Chloe was also Lorelei's adoptive mum. So Chloe and Lorelei had a close relationship up until Lorelei reached adulthood. So Chloe taught Lorelei to fly and she taught her to preen. But Chloe also taught Don things, and she taught Don what he needed to know about running a bird sanctuary. And Chloe and Don filed the paperwork for the Chloe Sanctuary together. She was very helpful like that. And she lives on in the sanctuary's work. So even though she's no longer with us, we still remember her and her influence is felt every day. So now that we've looked at Chloe, I thought we could take a look at saying goodbye to pets, because pets, birds. And this is something that can be very difficult. But I think one of the things I want people to take away from this meeting is that no matter how hard it is to think about, if you make plans and you think about things before they happen, it can make it easier to cope. So if you plan ways you can say goodbye to your pet or your bird, then if you have that in the back of your mind and you have plans, then it makes it a bit easier when the time comes. So things like holding a funeral, sometimes people will judge you, but don't worry about those people, because you're the one living your life. You don't need to worry about what other people think, because it's your life and it's your relationship. So if you want to have a funeral for your bird, then do it, because processing your feelings through having the funeral and expressing how you feel and marking the occasion is something really important. So if people make fun of you, then that says a lot more about them than about you. And when it comes to your bird's death, then it's your decision what you do. And things like cremation and burial, I know it's not easy to think about, but it's the kind of thing you might want to think about at some point, because, you know, if you have to get to the vet, are you able to get to the vet? How much is it going to cost? You know, when can you get the remains back? So that's something you want to have in the back of your mind. But it's really important that you take all the time you need to decide on what's right for you and not jump into anything, because, you know, when your feathered friend dies, you live with that loss for the rest of your life. So you want to do the right thing for you. So don't let anyone push you or rush you into making any decisions that you're not ready to take. And if you choose something like cremation, then remember that you don't just have to keep the ashes in an urn. You can do that if that's what you'd like to do. So if you want to have your friend on the mantelpiece where you can always think of them, if that's the way you'd like to remember them, then do that. But some people prefer to scatter ashes on a favorite walk or in the garden, or, you know, if there was a place that you and your bird like to go on a trip, you could scatter their ashes there, and then it's like when the ashes get scattered in the wind, it's as if they were flying. So think about the different options you can do and what you can do to mark your bird's life. So I know it's tough, but these are all things that we can think about, and indeed we're thinking about them today. So Barbara wrote to me with some pictures and some memories of her birds. So I thought we can take a look at them now. She says, here are some photos of my beloved babies. I've lost 8 birds in my lifetime. Each loss is no less painful. Most recently, Barbara lost her green quaker. So this is Frankie Ann, and Frankie Ann died on October 14th. So that was really recent. So we're really sorry, Barbara. Like it's really tough. But I think that's such a sweet photo. Like she's up on your shoulder and just snuggling. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, such a sweet birdie.
Barbara says, I'm a regular Chloe supporter and I'm an admirer of Don and his crew. And I love all the care and love that you have for the beautiful babies. So, and I think that's something we can all get behind. You know, we all believe in what Don's doing, and we're all people that care about birdies, and, you know, we love them and we want them to have an amazing life. So I think Barbara speaks for all of us when she says this. And the love that the volunteers and Don have for the babies is priceless, especially at this time as we remember Peaches. And we will talk about Peaches later. We'll make sure we spend our time remembering the peach. And Barbara says, I too felt the loss of Peaches as much as I have my own birds. I was crushed by her loss. I think a lot of us were, because Peaches was such an amazing personality. She was, in a way, she was almost the heart of the sanctuary, because even though she kind of didn't play with the other birds and she didn't preen them or anything like that, she was just a presence that was always there. And you knew when the peach was around, and she was just so full of life and joy, and just, she gave so much to everyone. So I think Barbara is right. It was very crushing for everyone when she left. So we miss her very much. Losing each baby was very emotional, to say the least. This is definitely true. No matter how many times you experience loss, it never gets any easier. It's not the kind of thing you can inoculate yourself against. And that's one of the things that, you know, people that care about animal rescue, it's tough because you don't want to harden your heart, but sometimes you feel like you have to, just to be able to get through it when you see so much suffering and so much loss. And it's very difficult, and sometimes you don't know how to strike the right balance. But this is something that we all have to come to terms with. So it's no easy answers. All of the losses were sudden and tragic. This is certainly true. Each bird was so special. That's the thing, you know, you love them in different ways, but you don't have favorites. Each bird is a unique personality and an individual, and you love them all in different ways. So it's not like, you know, it's not as if you have a favorite one. When you lose someone, it hits in different ways. I spoiled them and I loved them, and I miss each one still. And look at this little guy. I think this is, like, when I read this was kind of a gut punch for me. So my first and my littlest baby was 1 month-old lovebird named Tug. He's the little naked baby, and look at him with his little pin feathers. He's just adorable. Tugs on your heartstrings. He wanted to live so badly. Unfortunately, he had an enlarged heart, and the veterinarian recommended euthanasia. I never had to make that decision before. I hand-fed him with his siblings at 7 days old. He was such a sweet little guy and fought hard to grow. The tears flowed that day. That must have been awful. I mean, look at that beautiful little boy. Like, he's just, oh, I just want to hug him. That must have been awful, Barbara. I'm so sorry. Another heart-wrenching loss was my light green Quaker Gus. He was so sweet. From the very first day we met, we bonded. He died from a flying accident. It was a total shock when I found him on the floor. And that's the thing, you know, we have these birds and they're so small and delicate, and we want to give them a good life, and we let them fly and play with toys and do things, but accidents happen and you just never know when tragedy is going to strike. But look at Gus there, he was a beautiful little thing. 2 weeks later, I shockingly found his mate Louie, my blue Quaker, on the bottom of her cage. I think she died of a broken heart when she lost Gus.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But I can think about that this might be true, because birds can be really, really attached to each other.
I think that's definitely true. I mean, think of Chloe and Snowball, for instance. I mean, Snowball cried and cried when we lost Chloe. I mean, he, you know, for about 6 weeks, he just screamed. And then when Don managed to get him to stop screaming, all the other birds started screaming instead. Like they were picking up the cry for Chloe.
Yeah. They live in their flocks and care for each other. Even we don't see it because they don't care in the way humans or mammals do, like, you know, more physical and being really close and hugging each other. Birds might sit each on his own tree or so, but they still care for each other.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And that's so tough as well, to lose 2 birds within 2 weeks. That's just awful. Barbara says, I could go on and on about each baby because they all gave me so many memories. And that's certainly true. Lots of memories.
Thank you, Barbara, for sharing your babies with us.
And
So
on a
beautiful
happy,
stories.
yeah, and on a happier note, she says, I now have 5 Quakers and my Goffin cockatoo Sammy. They bring me so much joy and happiness. So that's good. And that's the thing, you know, when you lose somebody, it hurts so much, but eventually that pain kind of turns back to love, and then you find room in your heart for another bird you can love, another little feathered friend that needs a home. So I'm glad that that's happened. And finally, Barbara says, prayers and love to all who are celebrating the lives of their beautiful babies. And that got me thinking, so what are some of the ways we can memorialize our birds? Well, anything that helps you process your emotions is great. You can write them a poem, a song, or a letter. You can paint a picture. You can make a model. You can embroider a cushion. Make a photo album, a memory box, or a scrapbook. And you can volunteer with animals in memory of them. And I think in a way, that's what the Chloe Sanctuary is doing, because it was Chloe that kicked off the whole thing. And even though we don't have Chloe anymore, you know, this is for her. And it's for all the other Chloes out there that were lost and needed a home and hoped that someone could come along and save them. So this is for them. And now we get to talk about the peach. Look at that peachy face. So what are some happy memories of Peaches? Well, Peaches loved to go for walks up to the mailbox. Dom would carry her all the way there and back on one hand because she wasn't good enough at balancing to sit on his shoulder, so he had to carry her. But that was okay. Peaches didn't mind, and I don't think Don minded either. Because Peaches was so cute, no one could mind carrying a peach. Look at that face. I just feel happy when I see her, even though I miss her so much. I'm just happy to see her smiling peachy face.
Oh yeah, I have the same when I watch peachy videos as well. It always makes me instantly happy to see her happiness and joy. She was full of life, and you can even just feel it over the videos, the old videos from her.
Exactly. She loved life, and she wanted to live, and she made the most of every second. And I think if I'm blessed for knowing Peaches, it was that she taught. It was, make the most of every minute and enjoy it. Little Peach. Oh, I'm tearing up. Even though she couldn't fly, Peaches loved to gaze up at the wide open sky when she was on her walks. And we don't actually know if she could ever fly, because she had the spinal injury, which is why she couldn't, but we don't know at what time in her life that happened. We think probably when she was fairly young, but not when she was a baby. So it's possible that maybe she could fly at some point, and then after that she couldn't anymore. We don't know, but she certainly tried sometimes. She'd get her wings all flapping, and then she'd kind of jump, and she'd usually plummet, but sometimes she'd flutter. But it was so cute. Little Peach. And when she was on her walks, she loved to admire the pretty flowers, and we think she was the prettiest flower of them all. And Dawn liked to take her picture with the flowers, but I think Peaches would rather look at the flowers and admire them. But Dad made her post for pictures, so I don't think she minded that either. So we've got quite a lot of pictures of Peaches with flowers. Such a beautiful girl. She was also a well-traveled girl. She didn't mind where she went. As long as there were people to talk to and things to see, she was happy, because she was so outgoing. She just loved seeing people and doing things. And actually, she even enjoyed going to the vet, which is pretty weird, but that was Peach. Because, you know, if you go to the vet, there's people there, there's receptionists and people in the waiting room, and there's vet techs, and there's the vet. They can all talk to the Peach and pay attention to her. And, you know, that was fun.
Yeah, that's the very funny thing about parrots. Sometimes when you see cats and dogs at the vet, they are shaking in completely fear. And these parrots are sitting in the waiting room. Oh yeah, I'm so happy to see the vet. I can talk to him and fly around in his room.
So I thought that was very peachy.
Oh yeah. Totally peach.
And when she was on her walk, she'd say hello to everyone who walked or drove past. She adored people, and usually people adored her, and they'd often say hello back. Not everyone would, but most people. So she had that way of connecting with people. And she had lots of different hellos. She'd do hello, hello, hello. She had all kinds. And Peach has had such a zest for life. And I think, honestly, there was nobody else that I've met that was as happy to be alive as she was. She just loved life, and she had clung on to the bitter end. She was just an amazing person. And when she sang her song, it would echo all around the hills and down into the valley, because her voice was so loud. And when she did her beep, 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 beep song, when she was outside, you could hear the sound waves bouncing off the canyon where they lived. Like all the people in the neighborhood must have heard that peachy song, and I hope it brought them as much joy as it brings me. And Peaches adored Don, and she gave him kisses. You can see she's giving him a kiss right there. She was such an affectionate girl. And she never failed to express herself clearly. You always knew where you stood with Peach. And she was never nasty. Even when she was annoyed, she'd let you know she was annoyed in a kind way. So she didn't bite or anything, but what she'd do is she'd do her song, but then she'd go ah at the end of the song. And then the more ahs you got, and the higher the ratio of ah to beep, then the more annoyed she was. So then you knew, okay, I need to figure stuff out and, you know, get things moving. So that was the Peach. She let you know how she was feeling. And despite being severely disabled, she maintained physical fitness right up until, you know, the last week or so before she died. She was doing her workouts. So she followed a very strict exercise regimen, and her workout routines inspire us to better health. So she did weightlifting, she did climbing, she did abseiling, she did mountaineering, she did dancing. What else did she do? She did all kinds of workouts. She was a very active girl. She did turtling. Yeah, she was certainly inspirational.
Oh yeah, her workouts are so inspirational. I wish I had this motivation to do my workouts and so much creativity. And it always looked good when Peaches did her workouts. She was really, really skilled in abseiling because of her handicap, it wasn't as easy as for the other birds. So you can see she has really to think about which step she can take next. And so often she dangled there for a minute or more and thought just about what to do next, and then she did the next step. But at the end, most of the time she managed it herself, whatever she wanted to do. So sometimes she suddenly appeared behind Don. So when we were, oh, where's the Peaches? She must be on the floor. Oh no, she's sitting up in the aviary. Because she could go up there, right, Peach? That was our Peach.
Yeah. And she was so strong, because you'd think, you know, with her neck problems and her disabilities, you think she would be frail, but she wasn't. I mean, she was tough. Like if she climbed up to the top of the aviary, if she lost her footing and fell, she was fine. Like she'd just land on the floor and shake it off and get right back up. I mean, she was amazing. And Peach has fought until the very end because she wanted to live so much. And I think if anyone really deserved a long and healthy and happy life, it was our Peach. So, you know, we don't know how old she was, and that there isn't any way to tell really. I mean, we think she was probably over 20 because, you know, figuring out the timeline of how long Don's had her, and you know, she was fully adult, so she's probably at least 20, but she could have been any age over that, and we just don't know. But I mean, we feel like she was taken too soon. But the way I comfort myself is by thinking that, you know, the life that she had with Don, it was probably a lot longer and a lot happier than it would have been with anyone else. Because Don did absolutely everything he could for Peaches. So I don't think anyone else would have done what he did. And she blossomed. You can see that she appreciated it, and she loved her life with Don at the Chloe Sanctuary. She was so happy. She just radiated joy. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think with Don, she finally found someone who fully understood the Peach, because she was very special and she loved to do her special Peachy things. And I'm not sure if everyone in the past of her has appreciated that, her loud songs and her, yeah, she could be stubborn, but when you really had just to look at her and find a connection with her. And I think Don did that absolutely perfectly. So she could be fully Peach, and she appreciated the time she had with him.
Oh yeah, she was living her best life. There's no doubt about that. So that's Peaches. We will always remember her shining spirit. She was beautiful inside and out. She's our shining
chat, we
star.
can see the Peach has lots of fans. So I think everyone wrote in the chat, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep,
And Warm Fuzzy Vibes says she loves your description of Peach's workouts. Yeah. Peach has had many fans, and I think she was a great inspiration, or is still a great inspiration for us all.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think she knew that she had fans out there. I think that was part of her magic. Like, she knew there were people out there, and she was determined to be friends with them all.
I lament that I did not FaceTime with her.
Yeah, if Peaches would have FaceTimed everyone if she could.
Yeah, we think so. If she had her own iPad in her cage, she would probably phone 24/7 days a week.
Yeah, Dawn would have to drag her away from the iPad to make her eat because she just wouldn't get off the phone. That was Peach. And speaking of FaceTime, I have some screenshots of her. So these screenshots are from the meeting on the 15th of September. And she died on the 21st. So this is only a few days before she died. But you can see even then she was still happy and joyful and glad to see her friends. You know, you can see that she was glad that we were there. You can see her looking into the camera and talking to us, and, you know, happy that her friends were with her.
Yeah, I think she was till the very end focused on everything around her and enjoying it as much as possible. So even so close before dying, she was still peachy and did everything she loved to do all the time, like talking to people and looking into the phone and just listen. She hadn't so much strength left, so we did more talking to her, but you could see how she really looked into the camera and into the phone, seeing our faces. And yeah, I hope she enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was tough when she was too weak to do her song anymore, and when we'd say, oh, peachy song, beep beep beep, and then she couldn't do it, but you could see that she wanted to do it. But I think she appreciated that we were doing it for her. It seemed like she enjoyed when we sang to her and we said all the peachy things that she used to say just when she was too weak to do it herself. At least that was the impression I got. And this is a poem that Michelle sent, which is a poem about the peach. It's very lovely. So I can try and read it, but I'm not the poet, so I might not do it justice, but I'll at least have a go. Let me just move the icons out of the way so I can see the screen. There we go. So, a peachy poem by Michelle. I once saw a little girl. Her name was Peaches. Her eyes were lovely. She lit up the room when she came in, and everyone loved her, and she loved them. She had style and grace to match her pretty face, and her singing was like no other. Yes, she was quite the stunner, was Peaches. But one day she had to leave us, and that broke our hearts. But we will see her again one day. Peaches was the peachiest cockatoo you will ever meet. Good night, sweet girl, our Peach. So thank you, Michelle, for that poem. I think that captures the peach very much. It was indeed a peachy poem. And here's some more screenshots of Peaches. So these are ones from various meetings and, different days and months even. So Peaches when she was feeling happier and healthier, I guess. But I think some of these are lovely. You can see how engaged she was with us and the phone. And I think the one in the top right-hand corner is really funny because you can see that Dawn's got the iPad standing up in a clamp, and then Peaches has got her face like right in the iPad. She's like staring into it, completely transfixed. So that just goes to show she loved talking on the phone. And then in the top left, you can see she's looking right into it. She's got her little eye peering into the lens. And then and then in the bottom right, that's the one where she popped up on the chair behind Dawn.
So too, that was one of the funny things when we were looking for the peach. Where's the peach? We cannot see the peach. Where has she gone? Is she under the chair? No, she climbed up the chair.
Yeah, and then she suddenly appeared.
So I think she was so eager to see her fans in the screen, and Dawn didn't pick her up, so she just climbed up by herself.
Yeah, she loved to see people. She just was so happy whenever there was a meeting. Gosh, she was cute.
And Michelle says thank you to you, Eleanor, for reading it. She says she couldn't do it because she would have cried probably. But thank you, Michelle. Pleasure. It was absolutely beautiful poem.
I think it captured the peachy vibe really well. It was the essential peach. So now that we've talked about peach, I thought we could think about talking about our feelings, because as hopefully we're finding through doing this meeting, opening up can really help. And although it can be hard to reach out and ask for support, it's good to be together and ask friends and loved ones for help when you want to talk about things and when you're missing your feathered friend. So that's something that I hope we can all feel comfortable doing together, because we're a community. And as Peaches would have said, we're friends. But if you're not ready to speak, that's fine too. You don't want to feel pressured into doing anything you're not ready to do. But what I would say is, if you feel like you're not ready to speak, then try writing in a journal. one of the things you can do is you can write a letter to your bird, or you can just write how you feel right now, and maybe write down what you would have said to the bird if you'd had the chance, because that can be something that's really hard. When you lose somebody, you'll be doing something throughout the day and something will pop into your head and you'll say, oh, I should tell Peaches about X, Y, and Z, and then you realize, oh my God, there isn't a Peach anymore. I'll never be able to tell her. And that can hit really hard. So if you have a journal, that's something that you can write down, and all those little things that you thought, oh, I wanted to tell them, if you write them down, then that can give you a sense of solace. And although you've not actually told them, it's like you've kind of worked through that feeling and that want to express yourself. So I think journaling can be really good if you're not ready to talk to people. And also, you need to make time for self-care. And, particularly with bird people and involved in rescue, you're so busy and there's so much to do. And you think, there's other little lives out there that need help. I've got to always be on the go. But in terms of, staying well yourself, if you look after yourself physically and emotionally, you make sure that you eat enough and sleep enough, and you take time to do relaxing things and to spend time with supportive friends and family. Even if you feel guilty about spending that time, actually, if you do that, then when you get back to work, you'll be more productive and you'll be better placed emotionally and physically to be able to care for the other birds that depend on you. So don't ever feel like you don't deserve to take some time off and to take care of yourself, because you do. And you're important and your needs matter, so always take time for yourself. And finally, on the topic of taking care of yourself, sometimes if it's really bad and you're really suffering, you might feel that grief is having such an impact on you that you're just not coping. And that can happen. And if you're not coping, then please do reach out for help. So there are mental health professionals out there, and there are bereavement services out there. So you can ask them to put you in touch with someone. And if you ever get to the point where you feel like, I just can't go on, then please ask for help, because there are services out there and they can help you. So, don't struggle on in silence and, fall down into the black hole of misery, because there are people that care and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So you will make it through, and sometimes you just need a little help to manage it. So now we can talk about Murray, and I think this picture is just fabulous. I love this photo. I think that it's just so characterful. And Murray is the one that liked to say, good grief. So in the old cockatoo intro, I think you can hear her say it. She says, good grief. So that was a lovely catchphrase. And one of Murray's special skills was using ABA on Don to get him to bring treats whenever she wanted. So she trained her human very well. But Don didn't always do what she wanted, and there was one notable incident when she called him a head when he brought home 2 cockatoos with him from a trip. So I don't remember which cockatoos it was. I think it was
Babaloo and Snowball at the same time.
So yeah, I don't blame her for calling him that, but yeah, that just goes to show she was a character.
Yeah, she looks like that. Look at her face. Such a cutie pie.
And I think Murray was also the one who was involved in the toy boat incident with Cecil, where I think it was a territorial spat. So Cecil picked up a toy boat and then bashed her with it. to make her move out of his spot or something. It sounds like they had entertaining times. And I guess that's birds for you. And this is Bob. And Cheryl sent in the picture of Bob. And Cheryl adopted Bob. He's a Quaker. She adopted him in 2012 from Greyhaven Exotic Bird Sanctuary. And he's a sweet little thing. And he passed away in April this year, not long after we celebrated his Gotcha Day. So that must have been really tough. And April wasn't so very long ago. So I'm sure he's very much missed. He looks like a beautiful boy. And Cheryl says, he brought so much love to my life. I miss him a lot.
Yeah, he looks like a good boy.
Yeah,
Cheryl is with us here in Zoom, so if you'd like to say something, please feel free.
that would be lovely.
He does look like a cutie patootie.
Doesn't he just?
He was pretty.
That's Linda. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. He was a pretty mischievous little boy. I'm not sure I'd call him good, but he was sweet and loving. And he was my first Quaker.
Oh. He looks like a really, really good boy. We have this kind of birds in our city outdoor aviary, and I love to watch them because they build this fancy nest boxes together. They arrange all their nests together in one big super nest.
Yeah, they build cooperatively. Big condos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Quaker condos.
Yeah, they are absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. Is there anything else you want to share about Bob while we're here?
No, I think that's it. We still miss him.
Yeah.
Oh, and Fred is here.
So thank you very much, Cheryl, for sharing with us.
Yes, thank you.
I think a lot of people write also in chat how sweet Bob is and that they are sorry you've lost him. I know it takes a long time and you'll never forget the bird when you had them once.
Yeah, they leave a mark on your soul. So that's Bob. And now we have Sasha. And I think this is an absolutely beautiful hand-drawn illustration of Sasha. This is just gorgeous. So this is a beautiful memory. And it was Daniela who sent in Sasha. So Sasha was her childhood budgie. And Daniela says, I don't have a photo as we couldn't afford a camera back then. He was a very sweet boy and he's the reason I love parrots now. And I think looking at him, I can absolutely understand because he just looks gorgeous. And, you know, to have gone to the love and care of drawing him and colouring him in, I think that, you know, that really shows the connection and the love that you must have felt for Sasha. So thank you very much for sharing that. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's such a nice picture of a budgie.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that, Anne-Marie, because you're a budgie
absolutely.
aficionado.
Yeah, when I see budgies, I'm happy.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful picture. He's so characterful. And the colours are beautiful. I love it. So that's Sasha.
I think we have Danielle in the
Oh,
Zoom
do we?
meeting, oder?
Yeah. Oh, well, if you'd like
Yeah.
to come in and say something, that would be lovely.
So if you would like to say something about Sasha, please feel free. He's really stunning.
Hi everybody. I'm not
Hi.
feeling great, but yes, he was such a great bird, and we ended up with him. He just flew into an open window one day, and we couldn't find his owner, so he became ours. And he was already able to talk, but he learned a lot more. And his favorite thing was just to sit on your finger, like in front of your face, and listen. He could listen for hours. And then when it's lights out, he would practice new words for like, I don't know, an hour, maybe longer. He lived in my room. So he really wanted to fit in. He did, and brightened my day. And without him, I never would have known about what it feels like to share a life with such an amazing creature. And he was a great bird, and he is responsible for me loving birds, definitely.
Thank you, Daniela.
Yeah,
So
he
nice
sounds wonderful.
to have heard your story. I think
Well,
Archies are smart birds because I have now heard this story quite often, that they actually flew into people's houses, and obviously always it looks like this were true bird people, never had a bird before, but obviously capable. I maybe mean myself at the moment because I was 3 years old when the second budgie actually flew in front of the window I played. And then my dad got out and caught him, and we found the owner, but the owner didn't want to have him back, so we got our second budgie.
Yeah, it does make
So-
you wonder, doesn't it? They have a sense for bird people, and they're like, yes, this will be my new owner and my new house.
Yeah.
That actually happened to us too. Because like one day neighborhood kids showed up at our door, and they're like, your budgie flew away. We caught him, so here it is. And I'm like, he didn't fly away. But they found another budgie, and we also couldn't find the owner. So he actually had a girlfriend for several years. She was yellow, grayish kind of mix. But she was much more reserved, and she wasn't tame, and I did not to tame her. But he was the ambassador for everybody, for his family, human and bird. And one thing, I would love to take credit for the whole picture, but it was an outline. You know how it's in the black and white and you color it. So I just one day sit down and just was remembering him and decided to basically color and have a picture that I never had of him alive.
Yeah,
So
I can
that's-
tell you put a lot of love into it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing. That was lovely to hear all about Sasha and his girlfriend. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, and I know it's hard, but I think it's something that happens and that we have to face. So I thought we should talk about it just for a little while, and that's making the hardest decision. And in the case of Peaches, we didn't have to make that decision. So we were we were very lucky that we didn't have to do that for her. But we talked about it and we wondered whether we should, and we decided against it. But I think anyone that has a companion animal, it's something you have to have in the back of your mind that you never know what's going to happen. And sometimes your animal can get injured or they can get ill, and, you know, sometimes they're suffering and you never know quite when it's going to hit. But sometimes you have to make, you know, you have to take the decision to end their suffering. And so I think this is something that we shouldn't shy away from talking about. So what I really wanted to say was that it can be hard to know how your bird is feeling because they hide their pain, because they're prey animals. So, and also they can't tell us when they're suffering. So they rely on us to make a judgment about how they're doing and to do the right thing for them. So we have to be looking out for their quality of life. And sometimes we have to do the right thing, which is to stop them from suffering anymore. And like I said, although it's painful to think about, you want to make sure that if you do have an animal, that you have the information to hand. Because if the time comes unexpectedly, you want to be prepared. So, you know, if your bird is injured or, you know, if there's a tragedy, then you want to know who to contact and what to do. Because you'll, even though it's hard to think about, you'll be saving yourself from a much greater hurt potentially. And more importantly, you'll be saving them from suffering. So those of you who have pets or birds or whatever animal, you know, if you haven't thought about this, I would urge you after this session is over to go away and think about this and, you know, maybe make some plans or make, you know, have some notes, have some phone numbers. Just think about it. And what you can do is if you have a bird or another pet, an animal that you think, oh, I don't know, maybe, you know, maybe they're suffering too much. You can talk through the options with your vet and you can talk it through with family and friends, and you can get help making an objective decision. Because sometimes, you know, when you see the animal all the time, you kind of lose that objectivity and you think, oh, you know, I'll just keep plugging away, I'll just keep going. And sometimes having an outside view can kind of, you know, to talk through that and see, okay, you know, what can they do? What can't they do? How is their life? You know, that can give you clarity sometimes. And I think as a community, with all of us here being bird people and being friends, I think that's something that, you know, we're happy to help one another with if that's ever needed. And particularly with Don, you know, he does the quality of life assessments with all the sanctuary birds regularly. So that's something that Don could definitely talk us through again sometime. If people want another cockatoo episode on that or to talk about it in a live stream. So that's just an objective way to see, okay, you know, how is my bird doing and do I need to make changes, or, you know, can we keep them going for a bit longer? And I think the most important takeaway from this is what you want to do is you want to picture what would a good quality of life look like for your bird. And that's going to be different depending on the individual. Because when we were thinking of Peaches, you know, we thought, you know, she's so sick, she can barely eat, she's got blood in her poop, you know, she's tired all the time, she can hardly do anything, and she's got the neck problem, she's got the feather problem, she can't preen, like she had so many physical problems. And we thought, you know, would it be better just to, you know, end it and have her put to sleep? And, you know, we did think about it, and me and Don and Anne-Marie also, we discussed it and we thought, you know, should we just take her and finish it? But we decided that knowing Peaches and knowing what she wanted from her life and the fact that she'd lived in pain for a long time and was still so happy, we thought that for her, we wanted to let her die at home and we wanted her to keep fighting to the bitter end. And indeed, you know, on the 21st, when Don found her in her cage, she was still holding on. And even though she had died, she was still holding on to the bar like she just wasn't ready to give up. So we didn't want to take the decision to keep fighting away from her. So we thought, even though she's in pain, you know, a meaningful life for Peaches is to keep going and to be with her friends and to be living the life that she loved. So that was what we did for her. But depending on you and your situation and your bird, you want to think about what things do they enjoy, and, you know, can I still provide that for them? And, you know, how is their life now, and how will their life be in a few months or in a few years? It's things you want to think about, and it is tough. It's so tough, and I'm tearing up just thinking about it. But, you know, when you have the responsibility for an animal, it's something that we have to confront. So again, if you know, if this is something that you've been avoiding thinking about, I hope after this meeting you can find the strength to think about it and make plans. Just, you know, because you want to do it before, you know, before you're forced into the situation and have no choice. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys, for someone out there. Moving on to happier things, we have some happy memories of Coco. This is the Coco bird. Now, Coco, she was another bird who had physical disabilities. She could only eat liquid food, and she had to be fed through syringe. So Don hand fed her twice a day. And we think that the reason that she had this problem was because the breeders burnt her crop when she was a baby. So they put a tube down the baby's throat, and then if the food is too hot, then it can burn them. And then after that, they're no longer able to eat normally. So we think that's what happened to Coco. But nevertheless, even though she needed to be hand-fed through a syringe, she was a happy girl, and she enjoyed interacting with Don and being fed. And sometimes Lorelei would come along and get fed as well, because Lorelei was Don's baby girl, and she's still Don's baby girl. She's a grown-up baby girl now, but so the two of them would get their syringe feeding together. So that was a lot of fun. And the thing with Coco is, despite how careful Don was, she sometimes had choking incidents and needed help clearing her throat. So I think, you know, Don sometimes had to kind of get in there and dig out bits of peanut butter and pine nuts and things. So sometimes that must have been very stressful, but, you know, Coco didn't let it get her down. She was like, yep, I'm a Coco. If I want to eat my peanut butter, I'm going to eat it. So she didn't let her disability stop her. So she was a special girl. She was an outgoing character. She loved to play in water bowls. And there's a lovely video of Don loading up the hostess trolley with all the water bowls to put in the cage. And then, so he's put all the bowls on the trolley and then turns around and then turns back. And then there's Coco, like with her big foot going splash, 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 and all the bowls just getting all the water everywhere that Don just put out. So she was a playful character, but her favorite proper toys were the wooden birdie kebabs. And if I recall correctly, I think she could be picky about her actual proper toys, because she did prefer to play with water bowls and, you know, kitchen spoons and things like that rather than traditional bird toys. But she liked her birdie kebabs. And what she didn't like was she didn't like iPhones. She didn't like cameras. So when Don was filming Cockatoo, he had to sit there with his hands over her eyes, or else she'd scream. She'd go, ah, 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 ah. She'd scream and scream and scream. So Don had to sit there holding her head. And, you know, she gradually improved as the episodes went on. But, you know, sometimes she'd just get set off. And she'd start a screaming match, and then Bob would join in, and then things would devolve into chaos. So usual.
Yeah, I remember that. I think everyone can see it if one wants to in the first cockatoo episodes. I think at least at the first 30 or 40 ones, in every second episode, we had 1 or 2 Coco incidents.
We certainly
where
did.
she's reminding us constantly that the camera is on.
Yeah, she's like, Dad, the phones are still on. Dad, the camera's Dad.
And the funny thing is really when he put his hand over her eyes, she stopped like, oh, I cannot see no more cameras, so I'm okay.
If I can't see them, they're not there.
Uh.
Yeah, she was a funny old thing. And the thing with Coco, she had such a strong personality. She was so kind-hearted, but she was no pushover, and none of the other birds dared to mess with her. So even though she was so gentle and sweet-natured, she could stand up for herself. Like, no one messed with her. So she was a special girl for sure. And when she died, it was so sudden. It was a terrible shock. And, you know, she's another one. She was taken too soon. And although we knew that with her burned crop, statistically speaking, she probably would have a shortened lifespan, it was still terrible. You know, we weren't ready. Because, you know, one day she was in the aviary playing, and then Dawn was like, oh no, Coco hurt her foot, and we were like, oh no, poor baby Coco, oh, we're so sorry. And we had pictures of her in the hospital cage, and we're like, oh, she's so cute, look at her all cuddled up in the hospital cage, and you know, she's doing better. And then the next day she was gone, and it was just awful. So we miss Coco very much.
Yeah, she was such a sweetie, and her death was so sudden that it was a real shock. But I think that's the thing, when the death is a sudden event, it isn't better or worse than like with Peaches, where you have seen it coming. So
Yeah.
it happened to me with animals and with people, and it feels different in the moment, but in the end, it's not that you can say one thing is better than the other.
Yeah, because with Peaches, I mean, you know, it was so hard because she was declining for a long time, and then it was like I didn't want her to die, but then every day I get up in the morning and I go straight to workplace and see, oh, is there an update on Peaches? You know, is she still with us? How's she doing? And it's just like I don't want her to die, but then if like when she did, it was like a relief, but it was also awful. Like, do you guys know what I mean? Like when I say a relief, like obviously it was horrible, but it's like, okay, you know that the emotional roller coaster is kind of over. And that's what it is. It's an emotional roller coaster.
I saw something on TV that kind of put it really well, I think. When someone is suffering for a long time, the loved ones do their grieving during that. So the grieving is already happening when they finally go, and that's what the relief is.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. That definitely rings true. Thank you, Linda. Was it like that for you as well, Anne-Marie, with Peaches? You know, like, because it was so hard, you know, because, and then once you died, you kind of say like, oh, you know, I was looking for an update on Peaches, and then I realized there isn't a Peach anymore.
Yeah. It's still sometimes hard to know there is no Peach, because she was so, omnipresent.
Yeah, and still sometimes when we have the live streams, you know, I just feel like saying, oh, Peaches, hello, Peach, where are you, Peach? And it's like, there is no Peach, she's gone.
Yeah, I still have, I did that when Peaches was alive. I talked to her during the meetings, but I often also talked to her kind of when I watched an episode and she was talking and I answered her hellos. And I do this too now. And then sometimes it comes to me, oh no, there's no Peach anymore. And yeah, that sometimes these moments are kind of bittersweet because I'm happy to have known the Peaches, but I'm very sad she isn't there anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's like there's a peachy shaped hole just in my heart. And in the sanctuary's heart as well. I mean, you can see that Cecil is, you know, so upset. And, you know, I don't know if Don even wants to come in and speak because he's probably so upset. But, you know, for Don being the one with her all the time for 10 years, I mean, I can't imagine how that must have felt.
Spirit Matter put a thought into the chat. He says that hospice workers are taught that dying is not the worst thing that can happen to someone. Yeah, I think one shouldn't definitely not think as something that is the worst when your pet dies, but it's, well, it's still, yeah, it still will hurt you because you were so attached to your pet or to the person who has died, and then it's suddenly gone. And then, yeah.
And even intellectually, when you know that it was coming and that you know that they're not suffering, that doesn't make you stop caring. So, yeah, you can have conflicted emotions. You can have relief and sadness and anger and heartbreak and all kinds of feelings. So, it's not easy. And the thing with Coco as well, she was still so young and full of life. She was a young bird, and you know that just kind of made it harder, I think. Just, you know, that her life was so tragically cut short, and just because some breeder couldn't be bothered to buy a thermometer that would have cost $20 and measure the food.
Yeah, that's also the voices in the chat who are really upset about how breeders handle the birds, and that this is one example where you can see when breeders are only interested in these birds because you can make a lot of money with them, and they think, oh, that's easy money, and then they treat them without any knowledge about these birds and basically ruin their life. Because when you see Coco, nothing has been done because of her burnt crop, so she had to live with it for the rest of her life. And
the
that's
person
really
that
sad.
did it wasn't punished.
No, it didn't. It doesn't happen anything to these people. They just can go on, and yeah.
And then
Poor
people
birds.
like Don have to pick up the pieces and care for her for the rest of her life, and you know, pay her vet bills and measure the food and feed her through the syringe and do all the things that she needed. Like Don had to do that. The breeder that hurt her didn't do that. And it's not fair.
Well,
No, it's not.
because
Linda?
Don put that in his videos, my cockatoo I'm a first time bird owner. And because of Don and the cockatoo videos, I am able to care for this bird. And because he put in the cockatoo videos about her having her crop burned and how my husband and I make very sure that any warm food she's given is completely cooled off, or he's given, sorry, it's a he. He's given is completely cooled off before we give it to him. And that's why. So, I mean, we learned from it too, I guess.
And it's great that, you know, Coco's story is out there so other people can learn from her. And you know, that's a blessing that she left us, but it's just a shame that, you know, she had to teach from experience.
And
That's
another
okay.
point is that, like Peach is still, she suffered so severe in her really early childhood. She still became such a happy, funny bird and enjoyed the life and was full integrated into the flock and brought so much joy into the world.
Oh yeah, she certainly did. And Coco had a friend that she used to visit, and she loved it when her friend would hold her feet and toss her in the air. She loved that. And she would flap her wings with great enthusiasm. She was a great wing flapper. That was a whole lot of fun. And another thing that Coco liked to do is similar to Bob, she liked to act as room monitor sometimes. But unlike Bob, Coco was actually quite good at it. And I do apologize, Bob, for suggesting that you're not good at this, but you know, it is what it is. So Coco was great at dealing with the other birds. You know, she got on with everybody. If there was a fight, she would get in there and break it up. And you know, she was just a pleasure to have around. So her loss is, you know, still felt. Don and the flock miss her very much, and she was a special girl. That's our Coco. And on the subject of the flock that's left behind, I also wanted to talk about, you know, what to do if you have multiple birds and one dies. So the surviving birds might sense the change in routine and notice that your behavior has changed when you're upset. And it can be hard for them. So how can we manage that? So probably the best thing you can do is be there for them. Try to keep the routine as normal as possible to minimize the stress of disruption. And you probably want to avoid changing their diet or meal times. And you want to keep an eye on whether they're eating or drinking enough. Because I think Don said, you know, when in the days after Peaches died, you know, the flock was very subdued and they weren't really eating and drinking. And, you know, it was kind of tough. You know, it just seemed like they had no motivation to do anything. So you want to make sure that your birds are getting enough to eat and drink, because the last thing you want is for them to be off their food and then them lose weight and get weak and, you know, have a medical issue as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. And, you know, when they're upset, sometimes they do weird things or they do sort of problem behaviors. So how should you handle that? Well, you want to encourage normal and healthy behavior. But you also, if the bird is acting out or doing, you know, so-called misbehaviors, you want to acknowledge that because you want them to know that you recognize that they feel upset, but you want to gently redirect them to a more positive behavior, because you want to be mindful of their emotions, but you don't want to inadvertently reward them for doing a problematic behavior. So it's kind of striking that balance between letting them know that you care and that you feel what they're feeling, but also teaching them, you know, they have to manage their sadness and their grief, and they still have to behave and, you know, be civilized, as it were. So, you know, that's where training and ABA and reward training and positive reinforcement, that's where all of that can help you. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind, and that's another reason to familiarize yourself with training techniques. And finally, unless there's a medical reason to avoid it, it's good to show the surviving birds the body of the deceased bird, because Don's done this with, you know, when birds have died, and he says that it helps. I think it just kind of helps them understand that their friend is gone and isn't going to be coming back. And that was one of the reasons why we decided against euthanasia for Peaches, because we thought, you know, when she stayed at the vet for a couple of days when she was having her barium treatment, all the birds were looking for her. Like Snowball was looking under the chair, and Cecil was looking over at her cage, and you know, they all wondered where she was. They're like, "Where's Peaches? Why isn't she here?" So we thought, you know, if he took her away and she died and then never came back, they would always wonder what happened to her. Whereas at least if she was at home and they saw her declining and they saw her that, you know, one morning she was dead and Don showed her, then although it's tough, they would understand. So, and that, you know, that's something that can be very hard for you when your bird's died and, you know, to have to hold the body and, you know, show it to the others. But I think it's something that can really solidify that, and, you know, it's kind of concrete and you know that that's what's happened. So that's a good thing to do if you can. So that's what you should do for those who are left behind. I hope that helps some of you if you're ever in this situation. And now we're going to look at Hansi. So Hansi is the blue budgie. That's Anne-Marie's budgie. So he was 10 years old when he died. And he had a friend, Kleinele, and Kleinele looked after him until the very end. So they were very devoted. And in fact, Hansi did the same for his late companion as well. So I think he must have somehow taught that to Kleinele. And he was a very special budgie with a very caring nature. So actually, seeing as Anne-Marie's here, do you want to tell us a bit about Hansi, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, Hansi was special because of his caring nature. That was basically his main trait. So when he appeared in our house and finally got to see his companion bird Vigale, his first companion bird, then the first thing he tried to do was to preen him, and Vigale wasn't before with another handicapped budgie who couldn't preen, so he was like, "Oh, what are you going to do with me?" And it needed a little bit time until he trusted Hansi. So, but after this, Hansi got in completely preening mode with Vigale. So they were really, really close friends to the very end, because Vigale, when he became 8 years, he started to show signs of illness, and he had some kind of infection which could not be cured. So we only could care for him, but and help to have a good life, but we couldn't really cure his disease. And the good thing was it couldn't get over to the other budgie, and yeah, Hansi was just fine and could be with him till the very end. And when the last month was so, he couldn't really fly and was really, really tired and all, and Hansi did everything for his companion and tried to feed him and get him engaged and so. And what was really touching to me, that obviously the same then at the end happened to Hansi, because the next companion he got, Vicky, sadly died when Hansi was already a senior bird. I consider budgies when they become 8, so you can see they suddenly start to exhibit a little bit different behaviors from the adult birds. So like in humans and other old animals, they suddenly can get a little bit more, oh, I have problems to grab this, and get also these old illnesses a little bit. So Hansi changed a little bit his behavior, and in this age he sadly lost his companion, and we were really, really upset of this and said, oh no, poor Hansi, will he survive? So I was really afraid of him dying. Then we found a really nice companion for him. It was a young budgie, but obviously Kleinerle was like, even he was budgies are kind of adult when they are 6 months old, but Kleinerle was like, oh yeah, I still need a father. And Hansi was like, yeah, I can do this. So he kind of raised this little boy. And they also got really attached. And I wasn't so sure if Kleinerle, what he will do when Hansi got ready for his crossing the bridge, because Hansi, he was kind like Peaches. He really tried to everything to stay alive. So when he grew older and got more illnesses, I'm not sure, he might have had a stroke. Then he had difficulties to climb and to fly when he grew older and all this. But with every obstacle came into his life, he still found something to do against it and have fun in his life. His most fun was braining the other bird, the companion bird he had, and chattering with him. And he also was really attached to us, to his human family. So he was really upset when no one would sit in front of his cage and listen to him. So they have a cage and they have a whole room for themselves. And they require, especially Hansi require, that everyone of the family is in the room for quite some time during the day, so he can chatter to him in budgie voice. So yeah, he was a very special bird. He had also a really difficult start in life because he obviously, from the breeder he came, he already started out his life with a severe infection. And it happened that at this time we were often at the vet with our old budgie, he was handicapped. He had kind of incidents when he suddenly lost sight and everything, and then just dropped. And this becomes severe and severe, and at the end he died from this. And at the time we were often at the vet, and then suddenly at the vet, when our budgie has died, he said, would you try to give him the medicine? And we were like, so yeah, we need a companion bird anyway for our other budgie. So we tried it, and this little budgie fought for his life. And after 6 weeks of severe treatment with medicine twice a day, and he was like full recovered and such a happy budgie. So at the first he just sat in the corner and did basically do nothing. And then at the end he was like flying around us and stealing my food, and nothing was safe from him. I was try to give them a little bit of apple. So I put out a slice for them and try to put it into their food bowl, while he flew down on the rest of the apple, and then he bit pieces of the apple and threw it through the whole room. So with him, I've never cleaned after a budgie so much as after him.
He sounds like a great character.
Yeah, he was. He definitely. And yeah, the end of him, I put a picture in it where you can see him sitting under this red lamp, where he, when he was, that was close before his death. You can see his companion Kleinerle still next to him, and he under the heating lamp, so he still has it comfortable. And we also decided to not put him down, because he didn't look like he suffers from a load of pain. He just was old, and we wanted him to enjoy the last days with his friend and in his regular surrounding. And I think he couldn't do much. He still enjoyed the little moments where he got preened. And yeah, on the right side you can see the two together. This is also where you can see he has the slightly turn around his neck. So this was when he was older. He has problems to turn his head, but he still tried to manage everything. So that's for me a little bit the connection to Peach, because I already saw this with my Bachi. Hansi was really, till the very last minute, he didn't want to die. He really wanted to stay alive and be with us so hard. And to see this, that such a little bird is so attached to life, it's really amazing, and how much they can fight. So he will always be in my heart, because I don't know, when he got to us at this really little, super underweighted Bachi, who probably will die within the next 2 days or so, and then he managed to fight. So he grew and he gained weight, and so then he was cured, and then he never had an illness until he died. He was a feisty boy.
And that just goes to show, with the love and the right care and the will to live, they can have amazing lives no matter what they've been through. He is a special boy for sure. And then there's a couple more pictures as well. So the green one is Kleinele, right?
Yeah, the green one on this pictures this is mostly Hansi as a senior. I haven't found, I have photos of him as a junior, but yeah, they haven't changed the look so much. And this is his Kleinele companion, sitting together on the high perch in the bookshelf. They require to have a lampion on it. So I always manage to order these lampion sets for school classes. So in the so you know 10, 20 pieces, because you can imagine they poop on it and chew on it, and then the lampion is gone within a couple of days. And if you remove it, then you get trouble with the budgies.
And you can see how Kleiner is keeping an eye out for Hansi. You can see he's got his eye fixed on him. He's like,
he
that's
really was.
That's my dad.
At the first moment when he saw Hansi, he was like, so, oh, do you love me? And Hansi said, oh yeah, whatever. And put him under his wings.
That's so cute. Yeah, so that's Hansi. So thank you, Anne-Marie, for sharing. These are lovely memories. So this is the end of my presentation. So I'll just make some closing remarks. So I want to thank all of you for contributing to our memorial live stream. Those of you who sent in pictures and poems, and those of you who came in and talked, and those of you who listened, those who were there in the chat. Just, we appreciate all of you, and I hope that everyone found comfort and solidarity here today. And I want to say, we are a community, and I hope this has brought us together. And to everyone out there listening, if you ever need support, we're here to help each other. And that's what Peaches would have wanted. And, that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to help birds. We're trying to help bird owners. And we're just trying to be decent human beings and just doing the best we can in a world that's sometimes tough and sometimes wonderful. So, let's all help each other. And finally, I would say, on behalf of our Peach, she's not here anymore, but she'd be with us in spirit. So she would say, hello, friends. So, hello, friends. And I think what I'd also like to do, and maybe Anne-Marie will join me and some other people as well, we can all do a Peachy song. So we can all do the beep. So after 3, we can go 1, 2, 3. Beep, 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 beep.
Sorry, I was on mute. Beep, 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 beep.
Beep, 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 beep. Well done, everyone. That was a fabulous Peachy song. I think she'd have liked that. So that's
Peaches would be proud on us.
Yeah, so that's the end of my slideshow. So I know time's marching on. So I don't know how many people are still here and want to stick around, but if there's anyone who has something they wanted to say, then they're welcome to do so. We can have just general chit chat or, whatever people want to do.
Well, I wanted to thank you, Eleanor, for doing this, and Anne-Marie. I was in a noisy aviary. I just got them put up. So, I mean, they were just all over me and being loud. So,
oh, well, it was my pleasure to do. And I hope this has been helpful for people and that it's something that, brings comfort and a sense of togetherness because, it's been a tough few months, but with one thing and another.
well, I know it's helped me. It was, hard to keep my composure, but definitely helped me get through some things too. So thank you so much.
That's good. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah. Thank you to Eleanor. She did all the slides and the writing and research for everything and putting the pictures in. Amazing work. Thank you so much for doing this, and I hope you enjoyed it all. I think most people in the chat from the beginning are still here, and yeah, there comes a lot of thank you for the presentation. Yeah, a lot of beep beep beeps in the chat.
That's good. I love the beeps.
Greetings to everyone. Hugs to Dawn. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone who has joined, and especially the persons who have contributed. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, because, it can feel very vulnerable to, come out in front of people and, talk about such things. But I think it's really helpful, and your stories are very much appreciated. And
Sherry,
I can see
Carol
there's a
is
birdie.
showing one of her birdies.
Oh, hi.
So are we allowed to focus you for a minute? So I cannot do this. I'm not a host at the moment, but
I can make you a
so
host.
the other persons can see the birdie.
Oh no, Don's host.
I can fix that.
That's a very cute birdie.
It is.
Oh, I like that birdie.
Once more.
There it is.
Good boy.
Good boy.
Hi. Oh, yep. So Ruth is in the waiting room.
See if I can get my guy on here.
Oh yeah, Linda.
Here's my Francis T. Bird.
Oh, hello. Oh, that's a nice birdie. Hello, Francis T. Bird.
Yeah. We call him Francie Schmancy.
Francie Schmancy.
You gonna yell, Francie?
That's a quiet cockatoo.
And not usually. Wanna-
Get a full me.
Oh, he loves the petting. He loves the petting. Yeah, he got it.
So sweet.
Yeah, he's better looking than I am.
Nah.
You're a cutie.
He doesn't know what to make of this. Anything, Francie?
He's like, I'm not too sure about this whole YouTube thing.
Well, he's been sleeping all afternoon. He usually sleeps most of the afternoon. And it's getting to be almost 5 o'clock in the evening here on the eastern side of the US. So as the sun goes down, he'll start shrieking here in about a half an hour.
Yeah, sunset shrieking.
Yeah. Are you trying to say something? Hello? He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk human speak.
Does he
He
do the
tried.
kind of the cockatoo burbling like the
Not really. He's mostly yelling and well, yeah, yelling.
That's what
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah, he'll whisper a little bit, like I'm petting him right now. He'll whisper while I'm petting him. Hello, all right, so that's enough of my bird.
Oh, that's lovely.
My poor husband had to mute the TV, so I guess I'll go back upstairs.
Oh, poor husband.
That's good to
Mine's
know.
in the other room. He's just like, she's talking to the birds again. So I'm just looking at the live chat. So I couldn't see it while I was doing the presentation, but I was wondering if there was any questions or anything from anybody, or if people had anything they wanted to say.
Or maybe they want to help
Cheryl.
me come and clean the aviary. I'm on my knees
Well,
doing
I'd come and help you if I could, but
know.
Oh, Cheryl says her birds are watching TV.
My birds are usually not interested into a screen as long as they don't see my face on it. So if they see my face on it and I talk to them, so I do video calls with my budgies at home. So then they are interested suddenly in a screen.
Well, Don, when you're ready to move, I can fly out and help you move. I'm willing to do that.
Wow. Okay. That would be
That'd be
wonderful.
wonderful.
Yeah, just let me know.
Yeah, the biggest problem with the move when we get to the point is the timing of the medicine, making sure that they get their medicine on time when it's a 4.5-hour trip with the best case scenario. Well, help would be appreciated.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat and Erin says we'll have a moving crew. We can have a whole load of volunteers come out and help with the move. That would be awesome.
Would. Yep.
Absolutely. But I think also a lot of the flock like Cecil and Bobaloo already applied for volunteering with their moving boxes. So we can do this. We chew it all up and then, yeah, you can rebuild it.
Well, it looks like there's a number of us on the chat from North Carolina. Maybe we can all come out together.
Oh, you can have a trip.
Yeah, looking forward to it. These guys are kind of tired of being in small cages.
Yeah, it'd be good to get out of there.
And even Cecil, who's in his normal cage, I mean, it's cramped in there. I mean, he's wedged in with all these birds, and he's used to having more room. And he's like a buzzsaw chewing up toys. Normally, 1 or 2 a day, but he'll go to 4 or 5 now. Takes a while to make those toys too.
Yeah, he destroys them quicker than you can make them.
Yeah, a toy for him takes about 5 minutes to build, so he's got to have a nice long chain with a whole bunch of wood on it, just the wood alone won't do it. You got to have other stuff in there, and he likes a lot of variety in his toys.
Well, it'll be nice to have your own place again, because where you've been staying, it was, a great stopgap, and it was, it was very much needed, but you want to have your own space again.
Yeah.
And they'll want to have their space back as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I think they'll miss the birds though when it's all over. But right now, I'm sure they want their space back.
Well, once you're all set up in your new place, they can come out and visit if they want to.
Yeah, they've already offered that to them. They're like, well, we don't usually go anywhere. I'm like, yeah, I know, because you have 2 birds, but you can drop them off with us and head off to Vegas, spend a little time there, spend half your time in Vegas.
Yeah.
We get a place.
That's the thing. If you're going to a bird sanctuary, then you can bring your birds with you, I guess.
Yep.
Can I ask a quick question? Why
Sure.
is it cheaper to go to Arizona than Nevada, for example? Or like, why Arizona?
Well, right now we're actually looking at Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the real estate agent is, and that's where the mortgage agent is. So we're not actually looking at Arizona right now because the real estate agent's from Nevada. And that was a matter of having a rescuer there who was trying to help us. We got somebody there trying to help us. So that makes a big difference.
Do you know Rose from
Yep.
Parrots First? Yeah.
Yep.
They moved their LA base technically, but they moved pretty much everything to Nevada.
Yep.
Just because they couldn't, obviously, nobody can afford to have a sanctuary in LA or San Diego.
No, and you can't afford to rent anymore either. I've looked around at rentals, and a friend of mine, actually, he's on our board. He's in Australia, and he said, "Well, why don't you rent? I mean, it's so much more expensive to buy a house." And then I showed him the rentals in the area we're looking at are close to $4,000, and the mortgage payment on a place that's actually got more room, so that people won't yell about the birds, right? It's actually a third the cost. And he can't understand that.
Out of control.
Well, I understand what's going on. I mean, there's big companies buying up homes, and then once they buy a home, they make it a rental, and then they charge a fortune for it. That's what's going on right now. So that's why. But there's no way we could afford to rent and have enough property around us. The only reason we could do that where we were was because it was a double blind curve. When you pulled out, you took your life in your hands every time you pulled out of there. And the electrical wiring in the place was bad. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons that we got that place for a third of what you would normally pay. But just not out there. The rentals are out of the question. Just can't do it. Can't afford it. Not afford that and taking care of the birds at the same time. It's not possible. And we're just going to keep plugging at it till we get a place.
Yeah,
we'll find a fitting place for the sanctuary.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have
well, it needs a lot of considerations because the birds are loud, so it should be an area where not too many neighbors are. So the other thing is it shouldn't be too cold. Maybe the birds could manage it to some extent, but can't.
Yeah.
And even the birds are like, I think they prefer a warmer climate. Then the other thing is no area where natural disasters happen pretty often. So no tornado or hurricane area if possible. And then, of course, it should be kind of affordable and an area where you can find volunteers, or where, of course, avian vet structure is there. So there are areas where people tell us often they do not find an sufficient avian vet. And of course, when you have birds like the Chloe Sanctuary, it's important to have a good vet around the corner. So there are a lot of thoughts we have to make, and then of course we have to look for the right opportunity to show up.
Yeah, and in the first place, I was looking in Arizona, close to the Oasis Sanctuary. There were 3 avian vets. That was why I was looking there, and there was another rescuer who was helping me, but it was Rose that came up with the real estate agent. She's the one that got her a home. We're talking a manufactured home here. We're not talking, an expensive home, just big enough for them, a place where we can get the aviary outside, and enough space to keep people from complaining. That's what we're looking for.
Well, I just looked at the clock and we've been going for 2 hours, so I guess we should think about shutting this thing down. So before we go, is there any last questions or comments from anyone?
Linda's shaking their head. No.
Well, the only thing I can think of right now is something that someone's helping me with the funding for this said is that if we could get people to go to our Patreon website, which you can find from the link tree on our website or on YouTube or wherever. Actually, I don't think it is on our website. Everywhere we're out there, you can see our link tree link. And if we can get people to donate $2 a month, $3, $5 a month, that we can show the real estate agents and the lender and say, look, we have this income coming in monthly. That'll be a real help. So if you don't have much money and you can just give us $2 a month, and at least, when you get enough people doing that, it'll help us with our proving that we can make the payment. So
Exactly. It's not much per person, but if everyone does it, then it makes a big difference.
Yep.
Right. So with that, I guess we can wrap up. So I'd like to thank everyone who contributed once again, and everyone who came. Thank you so much. I hope this has been enjoyable and helpful for you. And I guess we will have our usual live stream from the aviary tomorrow. Right, Don?
Right. We'll do
Right.
that.
So we'll see all you guys then. So I guess that's it from me. And hello, friends. And beep, 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 beep.
Beep, 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 beep.
Beep, 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 beep. Ah.
Ah. Right.